Hello, Rush fans. Have you ever wondered if certain songs were meant for other albums and they didn't make the cut due to time constraints or other reasons? Today on episode 87 of the Rush Roundtable, the panel discusses a handful of songs that they believe could have fit on different albums. Let us know if there are any songs you think could have switched places with other songs or even different eras. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and comment below. Thanks.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Rush Roundtable. Today we are talking about songs that potentially could have fit on different albums. I think this is going to be kind of a fun one here, but before we get into the topic, first we have a brand new guest to the Rush Roundtable, and that is Jamie, and go ahead and introduce yourself, Jamie.
Hi everybody, I'm Jamie Vaughn. I live in Iowa, near Dubuque, Iowa. I grew up on Long Island with Mr. Chris over there and got into Rush when I was probably in elementary school, middle school, junior high, right? Let's see, what else do you want to know?
What's your favorite Rush album, Jamie?
What's that? What's my favorite
Rush album?
You got a favorite Rush album?
I really don't. I have a few that I really like. I think Hemispheres is probably right up there with one of my favorites. I really love Counterparts. That's a good one. Hold Your Fire. I love Hold Your Fire. That's a lot of good inspirational stuff there. So I love
like
Vapor Trails. That's another good one.
All right, cool.
I don't know. I think Rush for me is just like with you guys, it's kind of like the soundtrack of our lives, right? So you pick and choose certain songs that really fit a point in your life at that time. Like I know Chris, we danced to Time Stands Still at my wedding. We were the only goofs out on the dance floor. It was funny. Like, they're videotaping this. Who cares? Just keep going.
I'm glad somebody was videotaping that.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that was my wedding.
That's awesome. All right, well, Jamie, we're glad to have you. This should be fun. So let's just get to it. Alex, well, by the way, viewers, how this is going to work is we each chose 5 songs that potentially could have fit on a different album. And we're going to say them in order of what we think is most obvious to least obvious. So, like, I guess our hot takes will be near the end, the less obvious ones that you might not be thinking, I guess, would be at the end. So, and we're all going to go around 5 times. So we're going to start with Alex. Go ahead. Excellent.
My number 5 is The Weapon, which I think should have been on Moving Pictures. Briefly, there's a lot of repetitive, he did this and he did that and he's that kind of a person or whatever on Signals. And I think The Weapon is the one that could easily be moved off of that, so there's less lyrical repetition, and it's so rockin' that I think it would fit really well on Moving Pictures.
All right. We can comment too if anyone completely disagrees. You want to say something? Go ahead. I mean, I don't. I think that's fair.
Yeah. One of the fun parts of this was imagining how something would sound. Also, like the way it was recorded and all that stuff. So yeah. That was the first thing that kind of as soon as you said The Weapon, I was like, ooh.
I definitely agree with you on moving The Weapon off Signals for sure. Don't necessarily agree with you moving it on Moving Pictures, not so much because of fit. I just think that Moving Pictures is like perfect.
Perfect the way, yeah.
Yeah, like that's like the one Rush album I've never said I would add or do anything with. So
I like it fitting in with Tom Sawyer though as its own kind of separate theme too. So
that's fair.
Yeah, that's kind of why I like to pick that one.
I think that sounds good. Do you think it might be a little too keyboard heavy though for Moving Pictures?
No, because the camera eye is on Moving Pictures and it's pretty keyboard heavy.
And it's that same kind of just sort of lilting in the background.
Droning kind of, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, even Tom Sawyer has keyboards that are right up in your face. So.
Yep, totally.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right. Alex, I'm going to do the old switcheroo here with you. And I'm going to say I think Vital Signs from Moving Pictures could have fit on Signals.
Oh, yeah.
I think... Yep. No, I to Nick's point, yeah, it's fine on moving pictures. Moving pictures is pretty much perfect, but I just think sonically it sounds kind of Signals-ish. It sounds more like Signals than it sounds like moving pictures to me. So I could even put Vital Signs. I could even make it a stretch to say it could have fit on Grace Under Pressure, but I just feel like it could have fit. And I've kind of always thought that Grace Under Pressure sounds more like moving pictures than Signals does, and Signals sounds more like Power Windows than Grace Under Pressure does. But that's for another time. That's for the next episode. So yeah, I think that yeah, Vital Signs and Signals. Not the first song. Subdivisions is a fantastic opening track, but someplace on Signals.
Yep.
Maybe last, because I don't think Countdown's that great. That's a closing track. So, but that's my first one.
I love Countdown.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
So I'm going to go out on a limb where I'm going to say Vital Signs on Signals. That was my number
That's your number 5. Sweet.
You know what? Like, I'm not looking at this like it should have been on Signals.
Right.
I'm just saying it could have been on Signals. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really feel like, you know, I need to like replace something or say that this song shouldn't have been or whatever. I just think that, and it's interesting because Getty, I remember hearing an interview with him probably around Grace Under Pressure or so, where he talked about Vital Signs and said the last line of that song was everybody's got to elevate from the norm. And he used that kind of as it applied to the band Rush. That was kind of like a springboard. And he says, we've kind of discovered what the norm for Rush is, which is to constantly be growing. You know? So it was just, it was a natural evolution from that song into Signals, I think. It was like a perfect transition. You know?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they put it right there too.
At the end, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Jamie, you're up.
Well, actually, I had something else for that, but since you guys are already talking about that,
go ahead.
That was one of my picks also. So I'll just say, I said Vital Signs could easily go on Signals.
Okay.
Just because I thought with the keyboard heaviness and in my head, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that like Neil's last cascading roll drum song that he did? Everything after that was more like the rumbling brick. What did you call it, Chris? The throw a brick down the stairs or something like that. It's just like he doesn't do that quintessential cascading drum roll anymore.
I'm not sure
if he,
that was the last track.
It's in Vital Signs. Like he does all those really cool drum rolls.
Oh,
it doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with that there, Gene.
You wouldn't agree to that?
I wouldn't agree with that at all.
There isn't one on Subdivisions, is there? Isn't a big, huge drum fill on that one that goes from top of the toms to the bottom of the toms?
You know, that starts in the timbali or whatever.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
The 8-inch drum.
Still did that again. Yeah.
I don't know, it just didn't seem
Maybe
to be
not
as
as
prevalent in later. It's like he had enough of it and said, yeah, we did that.
We're done.
It's kind of a standalone fill that sort of is by itself, a transition in the song. Yeah, maybe. I hadn't thought about it.
So, but
it had it had a great last hurrah in Vital Signs, that's for sure.
Nick, don't say Vital Signs on Signals.
No, I wasn't going to anyways, but because I don't agree with it. But that's not the point. No. But it's fine. No, I'm just gonna go back to a video we did a few weeks ago. And it's the most obvious since I already said it, and that's Making Memories on Caress of Steel. And I slot that sucker right after Bastille Day. I talked about this with a few other people, I think, during our one live chat, and how it if you listen to it on Spotify, like if you cue it up right after Bastille Day, it flows nicely, gives the band a potential radio hit. In my opinion, a song that should have been a radio hit in the 70s during a time when they kind of needed that. And you just slot Necromancer on side 2. Side 2 is the 2 long songs. Side 1's just all radio friendly, short hits for the more casual fan. So
I don't know if you could have gotten 28 minutes though on one side, could you?
I don't know. I wasn't around then.
I don't know. Yeah. How long is the Necromancer? like 9 minutes, 10 minutes?
It's like it's over 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is all hypothetical anyway. So
I
it
had
works.
forgotten. Yeah, I had forgotten you said that.
Mhm.
I'm
I
glad I
actually
forgot
thought-
you said that because I thought it was really good. I would have put it on my list. I remembered you said that.
Yeah.
I thought that's
nice
where the
com-
inspiration from this
Yeah.
came from, actually.
And it's a
When we-
nice
No.
companion to it's a nice companion to Lakeside Park too.
Yep.
And just
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
felt of it and the
Mhm.
songs.
No, actually, yeah, the inspiration from this came from when on our pals Something for Nothing, Jerry and Steve.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it was Jerry said vital signs should have been on signals or vital signs should have been on he said or either signals or grace under pressure, and that got me thinking, you know, what other songs could have been on other albums. And he said that a while ago. We put this episode off or this topic off for a while, but we won't harp on that. Yeah, good pick, Nick. Alex, let's go through a second time.
Number 4, Between the Wheels, which is one of my favorite ever Rush songs, I think should be on Signals. Kind of like what you mentioned, Ryan. Countdown is a little bit of a letdown for an ending song, and Grace Under Pressure is just chock full of amazing songs. So I would pull Between the Wheels off of that and end Signals with that track.
Okay.
But I like Countdown.
I do too. I mean, it's a great song, especially when I was like 12. Like the first time I heard it, I'm like, "Yay, NASA!" You know. But
When I
yeah,
was 12,
I
Yeah.
love it.
yeah, it's a great song. But I think Grace Under Pressure is just packed full of great hits, and Between the Wheels with its tuned down and its kind of really cool rocking beat would have been a great, wrap up song for Signals.
That's not the direction I thought you were going when you said Between the Wheels. When you
Oh, you're gonna say Power Windows?
Power Windows. That's what I
I
was.
thought you
Yeah.
were going to say Power Windows. Move it up.
So yeah, I guess we're kind of going above and beyond here in saying where we would slot these in on the album too. So that's kind of cool. I
That's
didn't
true.
think of that. I'll try to do that as I go. My number 4, not 2, 4, is Best I Can from Fly By Night. Could have very easily slotted in on the debut album. So Getty, I think it was Getty that said, or no, I don't know. I think one of them said that was written prior, and like prior to Fly, but like they kind of had that. There's some
Life
background
going on.
background action.
sorry about that.
That's all
You're
right.
good.
You're totally fine. I think one of them said that it was written prior to Fly By Night, and Getty did write the lyrics for Best I Can, I believe. So it was one that it doesn't sound like something Neil wrote. Best I Can.
Isn't it? Don't they? Didn't they do that at that Laura Secord school show?
It's very possible they did it before
I
even
think
Fly By
so.
Night. Yeah.
I think
So-
that was written at that time. Just didn't make the album.
That's very possible. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I think it doesn't sound like
But that's why.
Rush with me.
Ryan,
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
song that you don't care for, so you stuck on a debut album? Because debut album.
Yeah, that's right.
A little bit of that. Yeah.
I
That
mean, if
influenced
we're
the
going
pick a
down
little
that,
bit.
if we're going down that route, I'm just saying I'd put Superconductor on the debut album because it sounds like I can handle the idea that John Lindsay wrote Superconductor and not Neil Peart. I still can't believe he did
That's
that.
great.
No,
Oh my
I mean,
God, leave this Zoom. You just said Neil Peart. Get out of here, Nick.
Listen, you not watched me on any of these?
it's pay art, Nick. It's pay art.
Alright.
Mr. Pay Art sandwich. No, but yeah, I mean, Nick, that's a fair point. I mean, that influenced a little bit, but yeah, I just think sonically it sounds more like the debut album than it
That's
did
fair.
anything going forward in time.
Is
So
anything from the debut album should be on Fly By Night? Conversely, Ryan, is there anything that is good enough to swap places with it?
maybe like What You're Doing or
Yeah,
or
What
even
You're Doing.
or even Working Man. But if you put Working Man there, you kind of got that and Vitor kind of two long songs. But
Yeah.
I mean, I always wished personally that Working Man was re-recorded with Neil in the studio
Yes.
instead of just
Yes.
live versions of it. But
And I wish
Yeah,
it would have
but,
done the 90s when the audio was better.
Yeah, All the World's a Stage version of
I wish they put it on
Working Man is
feedback. Honestly.
unbelievable.
I
Oh
wish
yeah,
they-
feedback would be.
Yeah, I wish they redid. I said that we'll move on, but I said that on the feedback 2.0 episode. I put Working Man
Yep.
on there. So
Awesome.
it's them being influenced from them earlier in their careers, like what they said on Colbert Report. All right, Chris, go ahead.
Okay, so for my number 4, the song is Middletown Dreams, which I would put on Signals.
Oh, nice.
I think
Signals today.
it's mainly just thematically. I think it fits with the Analog Kid, Subdivisions, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But in the spirit of swapping things, I would swap this with the Analog Kid if I were to swap things, because that would be interesting to hear on Power Windows. But that was my point. But yeah, I would love to hear. I mean, I love the way this song sounds on Power Windows. I would just love to hear what Geddy might have done with that keyboard part in the middle. That I wonder. I don't know if they would have had that kind of. I mean, the sequencer did exist, of course, but with a different, with Terry Brown instead of Peter Collins, who was purposefully trying to keep Geddy up to date with all of the keyboard and sounds and all of that stuff. So that might have sounded different. That middle-aged Madonna part, that beautiful, that I guess that's the middle eight of the song, like how that part would sound maybe played on the Oberheim, in this little fat little thing, instead of it being a sequencer. It's more of a legato thing. But yeah, that's my choice.
Yeah, Terry Brown's last album was Grace Under Pressure, right?
Signals.
No. Signals.
No,
Yeah, it was Signals.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Grace Under Pressure was
was-
Peter Henderson, who just
Yeah,
worked for them for
yeah.
that one album.
Okay.
Yeah, and they kind of produced Grace Under
Because
Pressure
whoever was supposed to
Kinda.
do it pulled out, something like that.
on their own. Grace Under
Got
Pressure with Peter Henderson, but it was kind of more them, right?
Yeah,
Kinda
I
had-
think they
kinda
had
had
hired
control of it.
somebody else, hadn't they? They had hired somebody else, and then that person pulled out at the last second.
Yeah. That's a really good one, Chris. I didn't even think of that. It's good. Jamie, number 4.
So what I was going to pick before was I was going to take Kid Gloves off of Grace Under Pressure, and I was going to say we could put that one back on Signals. Just because I thought it musically, it sounded like it fit more on Signals than it did Grace Under Pressure, because I thought Grace Under Pressure was more advanced type, futuristic type things, and I didn't think Kid Gloves really fit there. I thought it really fit, more on Signals with the different songs that are on Signals, and I know I'm really stretching with that, but it just didn't seem to fit on Grace Under Pressure. But
a
then,
song called "The Analog Kid Gloves."
and that's you got enough. You got Digital Man, Analog Kid. Now we're gonna have another Kid song on there. So unless you rename the song something else, but I was just wondering if maybe they had already written it for Signals, but said we'll just save it for the next album, or not knowing all the history behind it. Is it possible they had maybe not quite finished it yet and said, well, we got a deadline, we'll mothball this idea and we'll save it, but liking the guitar riff and liking the arrangement, and they just maybe needed some words for it, and then it shows up on Grace Under Pressure, but maybe it really should have been on Signals in the first place. So
Cool.
it's just
Good
an
point.
idea.
How long is that song?
Kid Gloves is 4:18.
4 minutes and 18 seconds.
seconds.
How long is New World Man?
3 something, I think.
I don't know.
The only
Was it
reason I asked that is
4:23?
because New World Man was the last track that they wrote for Signals, right? That they kind of had to fill 3
Yeah.
minutes and 50.
Right.
Yeah, 3
42.
minutes and 42 seconds. So maybe
Yeah.
Kid Gloves was just too long.
it ended up charting on the
Just an idea.
pop charts.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Yeah, makes sense. Lots of interchanging the synth era stuff, which makes sense. All right, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually did interchange it. I take that back. I moved one song in the synth era. No, my number 2 is I would
Number 4.
move, or number 4. I'm sorry, whatever. I'd go with Lessons off of 2112, and I'd move that back to the Fly By Night album.
Oh,
I
nice.
think that song really fits.
Yeah.
It sounds like a throwback to Fly, like a carryover from that sort of era, and it doesn't really fit 2112. I mean,
Right.
like
Right.
I know there's acoustic guitar in Tears, but it's different though. Like Lessons is like, I don't know, like Summerfest type song, and the 2112 album's like, you know, Let's Go to the Moon type album. You know what I mean? Like science fiction. Like,
Does 2112 even need a side two?
not really. Although there's some bangers on it. But
Yeah.
no, I'd move Lessons to Fly By. I think it fits great with like Best I Can and Rivendell and,
Yeah.
and all those.
Plus, Alex Lifeson wrote the lyrics too, so it would make
Yep.
sense to kind
It
of
would
put it
make
back.
sense to-
in,
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good. Cool.
Sweet.
Alex, number 3.
Number 3, sticking with Nick's theme, I would take Bastille Day and I would put it on 2112. I think that song just absolutely rocks. And I think there's something missing on the second half of the 2112 album. And I think that's probably the best one to grab from Caress of Steel.
I'm going to have to go back, and because Bastille Day used to be one of my favorite songs.
Oh, it's so good.
First discovering Rush. Like, Jamie,
Right,
we used to
right.
sit in your room and we'd listen to
Yep.
Exit Stage Left and All the World's a Stage. And I just loved, you know,
Oh,
just hearing
yeah.
them live was so great. But
Yep.
that song, I just loved it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
And then
Go
the
listen
Queen
to-
of Behind would come on and we'd go, what are they talking about?
Go listen to some of those older versions of it and see how fast Alex starts that song live,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
Neil tries to slow him down, and then he speeds up again, and like the whole intro, the back and forth between the bass drums and the guitar, you know, Neil's trying to slow him down and then he speeds up again. It's actually kind of comical.
Do-do-do-do.
Yeah,
All right.
good stuff.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit here and leave the 70s and the 80s and go to the 90s. I think Time and Motion from Test for Echo
Mhm.
could have fit on Counterparts.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Counterparts, you know, you have a theme of kind of things that go together, and Time and Motion kind of sounds like it might go together. Plus, I can't believe I can't remember if it was Neil or Getty that said in a quote, but they basically stated that Time and Motion was written years prior, and it never made whatever record it was written for. I don't know. It didn't have that in the quote. It was just written years prior. So I would just think it's safe to assume that. I mean, I don't think Time and Motion could have possibly been for like Roll the Bones or Presto or anything. So I think it probably was written in the Counterparts years, and I think it could have very easily fit on that. And
Were they talking music and lyrics or just the music? The music sounds definitely like it could.
that I don't know. I
Very
could
long
probably
time.
pull up the quote, but
Don't worry about it.
I don't recall. But it was
That's
written
a really
years
good
prior.
fit.
So
Yeah,
Yep.
super good fit for Counterparts.
Yeah,
Yep,
definitely.
yep. Cool. Go ahead.
And it's a heavier track than most on.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just the music, but just, you know, the guitar is a little bit more distorted.
Maybe they wouldn't have cut it from the tour also if it was during the Counterparts tour, because they cut it, you know, 5 or 6 shows into Test for Echo.
I don't think I saw it on Test for Echo.
No, they only played it for like 6 or 8 shows, and then they dropped it.
Yeah, I saw that tour fairly early, but I don't remember that one.
Yep.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, number 3, Chris.
All right, number 3 is, I'm also going to stick with the 90s, but I'm not going to stay in the 90s. Cut to the chase. I'm going to put on Fly By Night.
Oh, really?
As crazy as that
Cut to the
sounds.
chase on Fly By Night.
Yeah. And
Huh.
the reason is that it's not so much, it's more, that song always kind of struck me as having this really kind of early 70s feel to it. The riff is kind of that way, and especially that middle 80, that and that just, I don't know, made me think of 1975, the very first time I ever heard it. And to hear, you know, I mean, the arrangement might be different, you know, but it's got a great guitar solo in it. You have a 22-year-old Getty singing it. It might be really, really cool. It's just a great rockin' song with a great guitar solo, and I don't know, just scream 70s to me.
That's not on Roll the Bones. That's on Counterparts, right?
Counterparts. Did I say?
Yeah. No. I was trying to place which album. It's on.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah. Counterparts. Cool.
I mean, after the explanation, I guess I could see it.
Yeah.
That's a stretch in terms of time period, but I could definitely see it.
But I see, but I think that's like part of the fun of this exercise too.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Not so much, because it's not impossible, but it's really hard to take two different periods of Rush and try and figure out what's interchangeable. I think what goes from album to album is more obvious.
Right.
But to hear how 1975 Rush would play Cut to the Chase.
I feel like Chris too. It's not exactly as deep in meaning as some of the other stuff on Counterparts. Cut to the Chase is I feel like it's a little more generic. So, which was early Rush, a little more generic.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense,
Totally does.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Jamie, you're number 3.
So what did I have here? I was going to go to Presto, and I was going to take Red Tide and say Red Tide probably should have been put on Grace Under Pressure.
Nice.
Just because the environmental aspect of it, and that seems to be where Grace Under Pressure was going. The different songs they got on there with Red Sector A and all. They know the Red song. How about that? Maybe that's... But I just thought from a theme perspective, it fit that album more so than it did Presto. Presto seemed to me more of like a hopeful type of album. Like Presto, we make everything better. If I could wave my magic wand and make stuff better, whereas Red Tide was kind of more the dark side of stuff, and that's kind of where I thought, well, maybe this would have belonged there.
Yeah, Grace Under Pressure was kind of a dark album in general.
Yeah.
For sure.
When you said Red Tide, that wasn't the direction I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to just bump it to Roll the Bones, actually.
Oh, really? No.
Because I had thought about that a little bit, too. But
I know. I thought the very same
musically
thing. I was going to say, that was one of my...
Well, I was thinking it, but I'm coming more from musically than thematically. So after you explain it, I get that more.
I thought you were going to bump it to Hold Your Fire and say, screw it. Let's just take all 4 Red songs, Red Barchetto, Red Sector A, Red Lenses, and Red Tide, and just put them on the Red album and just be done with it.
Album.
Call it good. Oh, man. Over the top.
That's really good. That's really good, Jamie, too. I like that one. Nick, number 3.
So I'm actually going to take Malignant Narcissism from
Snakes and Arrows.
And I'm going to put that back. And here's the thing. Does it fit better on Test for Echo or Counterparts?
Or
Counterparts?
I think
Echo.
it's go Clockwork because it doesn't have an instrumental. That's what I thought you were going to say.
No, because Clockwork, it doesn't make any sense, because the story and all. The Clockwork's just, I didn't even consider...
Yeah, but it's an instrumental, though.
True, but I just didn't consider Clockwork at all for
Wrap
this.
BU2B2 and put Malignant Narcissism in there.
Well, no, I can't... I think Test for Echo is the direction I would go with it, even though Test for Echo already has Limbo, and I love Limbo. But I just think, if you listen to it musically, it really sounds like all the songs... It could fit very well with the songs on
E3.
Test for Echo. Sure. I mean, you could pop it right before Virtuality, and it would sound fantastic.
Yep, that's awesome.
Cool. Alex, number 2.
All right, we're starting to get a little bit more towards the hot takes. Just good morning, everybody. And more controversial for sure. I would like to move the Analog Kid to Moving Pictures. I love Analog Kid. I just think it has a really, really cool beat to it, and it seems like to me it would fit really good on the second half of Moving Pictures.
No argument from me.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. But that's okay. I do agree, though. It's a
Well, tell us
kick-ass
why.
song, though. Well, I think that it...
Other than Moving Pictures is perfect. Tell
Well,
us why.
no, I mean, like, I think from... If you listen to how the Analog Kid sounds versus... especially the songs inside side 2 of Moving Pictures, I don't think it fits. If anything, if you're going to move it, I would move it to Power Windows.
Power Windows,
Put it right after Grand Designs.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it, just like I've always felt that Grand Designs could be put on Signals, but I didn't put that in my list. But I think that I don't really think Analog Kid sounds anything at all like Moving Pictures. But that's just my opinion. It's still a kick-ass song. I love it. I'm just,
I could hear it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
My number 2 is I take Lock and Key from Hold Your Fire and put it on Grace Under Pressure.
Mm.
I think musically and lyrically it can fit. Lock and Key is kind of dark, dealing with the killer instinct, the primal killer instinct, and Grace Under Pressure is a rather dark album. And quite frankly, I think you could probably swap that with Kid Gloves and they could have both fit. That's not on, I didn't put that on here, but maybe add a little bit more synthy and a little less cheese on Kid Gloves if you're going to do that. But yeah, I just think Lock and Key could fit on Grace Under Pressure. Where would I put it? I don't know. Maybe right after the Body Electric.
Not on Counterparts, though. Not. Since we have another Lock and Key, we got Time and Motion. We're going to put all those songs on Counterparts, right?
everything with an "and" in the middle of it.
And an "and," yeah.
Armor and Sword.
Armor and Sword, yeah.
Yeah, I just think I think musically it could fit too. It's got a really rocking guitar solo. There is some little more guitar on Grace Under Pressure, or like kind of good guitar solos, like Kid Gloves and Between the Wheels and After Image. Yeah, my number 2.
Awesome.
All right, Chris.
Very cool. We're down to number 4. So, number 2. So I had a couple of things from Snakes and Arrows that I was going to put on other albums, but in lieu of one of those, I'm going to think of a different one. Mission, I think, can fit on Power Windows. And if I had to switch it, I'd switch it with Emotion Detector. Emotion Detector rocks a little bit more than some of the songs on Hold Your Fire. But I loved the sound of Alex's guitars throughout Power Windows. That I think he really, for as much as the keyboards really began to take over on Hold Your Fire, that was also the peak of Alex's effects, and everything was really layered and produced and all of that stuff. It really changed the sound of his guitar. So as much as the keyboards were sort of encroaching on his on the guitars as being the dominant instrument, it was as much, I think, the sound of Alex's guitars. And I think they're so bright and on Power Windows that I would love to hear Mission in that context.
So you're not concerned about putting Mission and Marathon on the same album? That's okay?
You can have a Mission to be in Marathon.
Do we get Do we get the fade out guitar solo to actually not be a fade out guitar solo?
Yeah. Hard
Mission.
ending would have been great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On Mission. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I could see it. Jamie, number 2.
Oh, let's see. I was listening to The Anarchist on Clockwork. And as I was listening to it, it ended, and the first thought that jumped in my head was Driven. And I thought, would this song fit on Test for Echo? Would that work there?
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, I don't know. I just kind of figured I'd just ask you guys, what do you think?
The Analog Kid on Test for Echo?
No, the Anarchist.
The Anarchist.
Anarchist. Oh, yeah.
Anarchist. Yeah, it's heavier than some, but yeah, I mean, again, see, I keep thinking about it just what if what if the Anarchists were written in 1996? That's how I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what would it
We're
sound
taking
like?
it out of the theme
Yeah,
of
yeah, I'm
clockwork,
taking
the
it out of-
concept, but out of the of clockwork. But
I mean,
yeah,
thematically, it's different because it's linked, obviously, to the story Clockwork
Yeah.
Angle, but musically,
I mean, it would sound really good actually between Test for Echo and Driven. Now that I think about it,
Yep.
it'd sound really good between them. I could see it.
might be onto something.
Maybe.
Yeah, I could see it.
It'll be on my mixtape that I keep in the car.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, number 2.
So I actually, right before we recorded, I switched. I wanted to take Presto off, just straight up off the Presto album, because I said in a roundtable earlier that I've never felt like Presto fits the rest of that album, like its own album. It's named after. I feel like it doesn't, sound-wise at least, doesn't fit that album at all. Like it just doesn't sound like it goes there. But then I was looking through the albums, and I'm like, I don't know where I'd put it. So I was like, I'm not gonna bother. But no. So I've always felt that Mystic Rhythms. I said this on a roundtable too earlier, that Mystic Rhythms. I didn't know for the longest time that it was on the Power Windows album. I thought Emotion, because I had listened to the live version mostly, so I thought Emotion Detector was it. Like I didn't realize, oh, Mystic Rhythms comes after. So I'd take Mystic Rhythms off that, and I'd pop it on Hold Your Fire, not just to bump it one up, but also because I really think when you put it together with like songs like High Water, Open Secrets, I think it really fits with those. In fact, if you were going to make a switch, I'd say you pop Time Stand Still or Force 10 back on Power Windows, especially for just because it. I mean, you wouldn't have to, but I'd slot that song right after either Prime Mover or Open Secrets.
Why not Last?
I don't like the song. I don't think it's a good song to have last. Like, and that's part of the reason why I want it off of Power Windows. I don't want it to be the last song.
The only reason I say that is because, Jamie, I was just going to say, the only reason I say that is because, you go Tai Shan High Water, and it's kind of like a downer.
You could go Mystic Rhythms, then Tai Shan High Water if you wanted.
Well, then we're still forgetting about Tai Shan and High Water. that was my point.
That's a fair point.
They're forgotten about songs.
That's
they're both at the end.
I like High Water a lot.
So do I.
Yeah.
Jamie,
that's always the fun of listening to Rush albums, though, is kind of going from let's see the changes that happened from this album to the next one.
Right.
How did they grow as musicians? How did they grow as writers? And I think those two albums right next to each other, they really exemplify that. It's like, okay, we did Grace Under Pressure, we did Power Windows, and now we're doing what's next. And
you know, Ryan, I think you're onto something. I think having it end that would make more sense because High Water isn't such like an ending song, so you would continue. Like Emotion Detector always felt like it, like a definitive, like powerful song.
You could have taken like Middletown Dreams and put it at the bottom of Power Windows. It could have easily ended.
Yeah,
Power
I mean,
Windows, something. But
so like I think you're on some High Water performance rhythms. Does sound good. So
cool. So this will be like, I guess, our hottest take, or our least obvious, or one that we're, I guess, really proud of. I will say though that if you do have a honorable mention or two, and you want to quickly say it without any discussion, you go ahead. Now would be before you read your number one would be the time. So go ahead.
My honorable mention is Tears. I think it should be taken off of 2112 and put on Crest of Steel. I just think it fits better. And my hottest of all the hot takes, which is the reason why I mentioned a couple of other songs earlier, is I think The Camera Eye should have been on Signals. I love that track. It's my favorite track on the second half of Moving Pictures. But in my other lists, I moved The Weapon and The Analog Kid to Moving Pictures. So I think something big has to come off of Moving Pictures and go to Signals. So it's very controversial, but I really think The Camera Eye would have been amazing on Signals.
I have a theory in my own head that I think there are certain songs that just don't really belong on any album. And I think The Camera Eye is probably one of those songs where it's like it's a masterpiece all unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
And putting anything next to it or around it just doesn't seem to fit anywhere. And They wrote it, they love it, and they had to showcase it someplace, so it's here. To kind of expand on that, I don't think in my head, and Chris, you can correct me on this, I don't think it was until Counterparts where Rush really kind of crafted the gallery of songs, if you will, where they were like, all right, let's try to create all these songs that really work better together. Maybe it was a Hold Your Fire, but I noticed it when we got to Counterparts. I was like, oh, all these songs.
Yeah, no, they
Roll
did.
Bones definitely, because that's all gambling. Oh, it's all gambling themed. It's basically about a trip to Vegas. Like Dreamline literally describes going to. No, seriously, Dreamline describes going to Vegas, and then you've got Roll the Bones, which is about craps. Face Up, that's a card game. The big
good.
Roulette. I mean, where's my thing? What the hell? Like
about chance and
yeah.
Or a trip to Vegas.
Well, I mean, Ghost of a Chance.
Gambling, yeah.
or finding a spouse. Like Ghost of a Chance is like finding your soulmate. So some people find their soulmate
but in Vegas,
you know.
No, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the album's about going to Vegas. Like, it was.
Oh my god.
Why not? You can find your soulmate and then get married, like, right down the street.
They were wild in the 90s.
That's great.
All right. Well, I have a couple of honorable mentions. One would be take Kid Gloves off Grace Under Pressure and put it on Presto. Another, and then the other two here would be take Totem from Test for Echo and take How It Is from Vapor Trails and put them both on Snakes and Arrows. Totem because thematically kind of got religious-ish themed with Snakes and Arrows, and How It Is because it sounds a lot more acoustic-y than a lot of the stuff on Vapor Trails. And I think the How It Is remix sounds really awesome, way better than the OG, and I think it would fit on Snakes and Arrows. But my number one, I guess my hottest take or my least obvious is I would take Digital Man from Signals and put it on Moving Pictures.
Sweet.
And here's why. I think it would fit right after maybe you'd have to slide Limelight, so you got 4 and 4 on side 1 and side 2, but after Red Barchetta. It for some reason it just sounds kind of Digital Man is really bassy to me. I hear the bass a lot in that song, and I hear the bass a lot in Red Barchetta, so I think they could kind of go maybe hand in hand. Plus with Red Barchetta you got a song about a car, and in Digital Man you're on a date with Fate in a black sedan, so it's kind of like, I don't know, it just might sound good back to back, because I've listened to them back to back, and it sounded good. So I just think it would be cool. It's got a rockin' solo as well, as does a lot of things on Signals, songs on Signals too. But I think Digital Man could fit on Moving Pictures.
Awesome.
All right.
Chris?
I have kind of a nutty one. First, I'll give my other nutty one, which is my shout out, which is Spindrift. And again, I didn't approach this exercise from I'm going to take this and actually put it on this album. But I think that Spindrift, and I can't really explain why, but from the very first time I heard it, I thought Permanent Waves. There's this kind of stormy kind of feel to it, the angular guitar, that and with the song kind of being, what Neil talked about, the Mark Twain quote about it, I had a quarrel with the world, or was it Robert Frost?
Yeah, I think it was Robert.
That it would be an interesting counterpart to Entre Nous, which is a more positive view of
okay.
expanding relationship, and then you have this other one. But anyway, that's my shout out. So Armor and Sword, same album. My first impression of Snakes and Arrows was that it was Rush doing Rush, and I explained this on I think it was the Deep Tracks, or the 90s versus 2000s debate episode, I think, where I always saw Rush's career as them always doing their own thing, but always borrowing from things that were going on around them, whether that was prog, reggae, ska, new wave, electronic music, grunge. But by the time, they became old farts like us, they were kind of done experimenting with that and they were ready to do themselves, you know, they kind of did their own version of them. And so I'm going to put Armor and Sword on A Farewell to Kings. And
Awesome.
maybe it's just the acoustic in the beginning, in the verses, but it immediately reminded me of that album. Thematically too, there's something about it that makes me just think medieval.
Medieval, yeah.
Yeah.
The film projection live, they had there was a knight there with the sword and fire and all this stuff, and I don't know, it just sounded like older Rush to me, and I think that it would work perhaps if I was literally going to put it on that album opening side too, as opposed to the heart. Even though I think the first sentence of Closer to the Heart is an answer to the last line of A Farewell to Kings.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I could see both of your takes there. I mean, with Spindrift, as the waves crash in on the Western Shore, I mean, the permanent waves, literally.
Literally.
Yeah. But I could see both of them. I'm trying to envision Getty singing them both in a lot higher octave, but
well, that's
from
the thing about Spindrift and
77 and 80.
Rush and those Snakes and Arrows and Clockwork Angels, like Nick Reskulinix,
yeah.
encouraged Getty. He's like, he kind of wanted them to do that. It's like, what is Rush known for? They're known for your crazy licks and times and your freaky high voice, and you know, while
those are hot takes, but
Getty's vocal problems live later.
Yeah.
You know, he pulled that out of him, and so that's what made me think that, because that's really high. And he hadn't done that in a while.
they're hot takes, but well explained. They make sense.
Yep.
I could see it. Jamie, go ahead.
So we were talking about their honorable mentions, right?
Yeah, you got a couple honorable mentions.
So like I said, I thought Natural Science and La Villa Strangiato are absolute masterpieces, and they don't belong on any album. Put them on the These Don't Belong on Any Album.
Nice.
Outside of that, I was listening to Clockwork Angels, and I was like, Headlong Flight, is that reminiscent of Anthem? Would that work that way back that far? I don't know.
See, it fits with my theory of Rush doing Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, would Anthem fit on Clockwork Angels? Not thematically, but
I don't know.
sound.
Yeah. Who knows?
That was
Is
just
that
a thought.
your number one,
that
or
fit? What's that?
is that your number one?
Yeah, that's my stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
I
stretch
mean, well, I mean, the only thing for me is, you know, I wish that I could live it all again, right? In Headlong Flight, literally
Yeah.
on Fly By Night.
Unless it's unless you just pretend that it's a 22-year-old Neil telling a story about some old guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Not the
I think,
22-year-old Neil.
we have. I think
Could it be another Canadian?
Well, that's my least
Not old
obvious one. That's
Yeah.
why I pulled that.
Yeah.
So they'd be another Canadian singing about an old man.
It wasn't that great. I apologize.
No, I agree with you. I'm on your side.
Yep.
that's
because Headlong Flight's a
like I
badass
said,
song.
like that song is about as 70s Rush as they got. I mean, there's like everything and the kitchen sink in that song.
hmm I call it those songs too. It's a kitchen sink song.
Yeah.
And I've
Well,
always
everything
said, I've said this a million times, but Clockwork Angels to me is what makes it so perfect, is that it's everything they ever were in one friggin' incredible album.
Right.
There's like, you can hear a little bit, another one of my shout outs was when I hear Carnies, I think of Power Windows, not the heavy guitar part, but the How I Prayed Just to Get Away part. The way that changed, I can hear that in 1985, it just took me back there,
I guess I'll be the odd man out and say I don't see Headlong Flight on anything other than Clockwork Angels, but the explanation was reasonable to kind of sway me, I guess. But I just don't see that song on anything other than.
You have not pleased Ryan this evening with your.
Not because I don't think it doesn't sound like Fly By Night, just because I don't see that song moving. That's the only reason. Okay, Nick, go ahead. Last one.
So just a couple of quick honorable mentions.
Excuse me, what?
Just a couple of quick honorable mentions. Sorry.
What hole? Okay, go ahead.
No, so like you could pretty much exchange most of the songs on Counterparts with songs on Test for Echo, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Musically, they're extreme. Thematically, they're a little different, but musically, they're very similar. So like The Color of Right, I think really would sound great on Counterparts, and I think Stick It Out would sound great on Test for Echo. Like you could really just mix match. So that's kind of my honorable mention. I also kind of thought Heresy could have been bumped back on Presto. It just sounds like it would go on that, but it wasn't really. Now,
Where does that fit in terms of Vegas?
It hadn't happened yet.
Right, exactly. Like the Heresy completely sticks out of that album. That's why I'm like, you can't have that there. No. Or unless, of course, you thought the world was about to end because, Cold War stuff. So you're like, let's go to Vegas. But no. So my stretch is a stretch. Like it's a stretch. I'm going to the Vapor Trails album, and I'm sticking another song on there. I'm sticking it on there after Ghost Rider or after Vapor Trails. I'm taking Still from Geddy Lee's My Favorite Headache, and I'm popping that on Vapor Trails. You need a little bit more of a solo, an Alex Lifeson solo, and you'd have to improve the drum fills, obviously.
Do you need a solo, though? I mean, Vapor Trails have like one solo on it.
But still, to me, lyrically, thematically, musically, sounds like it fits the Vapor Trails album. It sounds like it fits 2002 Rush. If you think about it, like if you listen to Still and you listen to Still and then listen to like Vapor Trails or How It Is or Ghost Rider, and then you listen to Still and you realize, okay, the lyrics, really fit like what Neil was going through at the time, like Still kind of fits that, the music, all that. And I really think, I know that's a stretch because you're not even taking an actual Rush out song, you're taking a song by one of the members.
Yeah.
But
Grace to Grace could fit on that album too. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, they had songs early on in their careers that were written by, members, by one of the members, like Tears and Best I Can stuff, lyrics that weren't written by Neil.
I'm sure a lot of the songs were like mostly one or the other. Like one of them had, whatever. It's just like.
And I'd like to hear
they talked to Lennon and McCartney about the songs, and like there were very few songs that were really.
Yeah. And I'd like to hear the song with
the other a little bit. Yeah.
I'd like to hear the song too with Alex and Neil on there. See what they would do musically with it. So.
Right.
All right. Well, those watching, first of all, this was a lot of fun. It was a lot of good choices. Anyone watching, that's watched this far, let us know in the comments. Any of your hot takes or any songs that you think should have been or could have been or belong on different albums. Get creative and also let us know what we think. I mean, what our thoughts were. Tell us if you agree or disagree with what we had said. So with that, I think we got another fun one next week for you. So we will see you then. Take care, everybody.
Take it easy. Thanks for having me.